I keep seeing words flashing, secret words in Latin,
I see like a person, they come flying down out of the sky.
cosmic spiritual power.
A location that is off limits.
Old contracts come due, something that was written long ago.
Target felt strange to me. It felt like it's not what it seems.
You're watching the FFG archives, uncovering our remote viewing debriefs from the vault, raw, unfiltered, and decades ahead of their time, now released for the first time on YouTube. Watch them all at futureforecastinggroup.com.
Today is April 6th, 2021. The time is 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right. This was one of my most interesting slides here. I see people in like flight suits or something, and they're in like a formation, and they're in like a high, very high up, flying around somehow, skydiving maybe. But yeah, that's what I see there.
This is a very old target. I get guys scribing, writing quiet, low voices. This is a historical record, religious target, something passed down through the age. This is like a Hammurabi stone type of thing, I think. But the religious history is my theme.
There was some type of hertz frequency that was coming through deep sea terminal, some low frequency range, and a whole bunch of other weird stuff. So I look forward to finding out what the target is.
Okay, I'm gonna go with this freaky shit. So something like a very bright explosion of light and energy, intense energy, a large self-sustaining energy that felt alive, like a spark of life. I got like the AOL there of creation.
Our remote viewers were tasked to view what we call a woo-woo target right now, something that goes beyond cryptocurrency. This one transcends history. It's a historic biblical target, as Dick said in his teaser for us here, has religious undertones to it. Many of us should be, all of us should be familiar with it. Hollywood has talked about it quite a bit in some popular movies in the 80s. So I think this target is going to be quite interesting for our viewers as we do our target reveal. And here we have it, the Ark of the Covenant, also known as the Ark of Testimony, and in a few verses across various translations of the Bible, the Ark of God. It's a golden covered wooden chest with lid covered, described in the book of Exodus as containing the 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. According to the New Testament book of Hebrews, it also contained Aaron's rod and a pot of manna. Now, this, I see the smiles on the viewers' faces as we're going through this. Lots of stories around this. Where is it resting today? What was it used for? Did it contain the tablets? Was it used as some kind of a weapon? There's, I think, a pretty good summary that I found online as well from Live Science. But it's the chest that held the tablets engraved with the 10 Commandments. I'm reading from their website here. According to the Hebrew Bible, it was constructed by the Israelites while they were camping out in the Sinai Desert after they fled Egypt. The Hebrew Bible doesn't specify when they fled, and there is a debate among scholars as to whether there ever was an Exodus. But the ark vanished when the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem in 587 BC. As the ark has a number of seemingly magical powers, according to the Hebrew Bible. In one story, the Jordan River stopped flowing and remained still while a group of priests carrying the ark crossed the river. Other stories describe how the Israelites took the ark with them into battle, where the powers of the ark helped the Israelites defeat their enemies. When the ark was captured by the Philistines, outbreaks of tumors and disease afflicted them. forcing the Philistines to return the ark to the Israelites. Some stories describe how death would come to anyone who touched the ark or looked inside of it. And I have heard theories of radiation emanating from it, but I don't remember where I heard that from. There are two biblical stories describing the construction. First and most famous in the book of Exodus describes that a large amount of gold was used to build the ark. The second version, found in the book of Deuteronomy, briefly describes the construction made of just wood. Okay. And there's several stories as to how it survived. I'll come back to this as we go through our data here, if it's relevant into what you guys pulled back. Any questions off the top of your head about the ark itself? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the weight of looking at that. I mean, I think this is one of the things that RV was designed to do. I mean, what an amazing opportunity to look at a target like this. I think that's an incredible experience to be able to pull this data. So are we ready for our debrief? We're going to start with Naeem, and we can find out more about his flying formation of people and see how that relates.
To be honest, I don't know how this really fits in, but I had some pretty consistent things over multiple sessions, but we'll see. My first visual is of a land gestalt. It's like a canal. Mm-hmm. Boats and ships go through here. And there's a crossing here, and I get like a nasty sewage smell. And this is in an urban area. As well with that land there, I see this is like a school or something, like Harvard, like a large Gothic. There's like a pedestal somewhere. It's like a research institute, high class stuff. Intense study goes on here. Here I see a water aspect, and this like maybe Edwards. This is like what Edwards, because this is like I had like an AOL of like submarine here. Like I see a structure that's like it's like partially submerged in the water, and I get like deep sea probe, and like there's like metallic pipes associated with this structure. Scientific, and I get like it's like they're sampling something, they're testing something. Like submersible there. Here, this is just weird. Like I see just like I get like isolated no man's land, like lost at sea. I just see like two boats just out at sea.
So real quick, Naeem, looking at the tasking document, it's the Ark of the Covenant, Earth, present day location, and it was asking describe what it is and its intended purpose. When was it used last? Who created it? And where is it now? So I'm wondering if you're seeing aspects of where it might be today.
Or maybe what I'm seeing is how they're using it now. Like I guess we don't really know exactly what it is, but my data is kind of weird. Here I see this is like I get like energy rushing through towards this structure, an intense energy rush through here, and I get a sense of like a synchronization and an alignment. And then like the next thing I see, and this is like the main thing I see in my session over and over again, I see like a person, they come flying down out of the sky, like almost like they're skydiving, but I think they're hanging on to something, high flying, coming down to land at a certain spot. Like I get like this has to do with landing at a certain spot. There's people who see this. They don't know what it is. They're just like, wow, there's people that point up and see this. Again, I see like someone moving like very high altitude in a high altitude air current. More stuff like kind of like weather balloons, like stuff up in the air. I get a sense of net load, weight capacity. And then, the next thing I see is like a landing sequence. Like this person comes down and lands. That was my first session.
You think that's
Um,
like an ancient astronauts connection, possibly?
Maybe because this is the next thing I had. This was like an astronaut thing. Like you've seen those NASA things where they wear those. It's not a
Yeah.
jetpack, but it's like a hydraulic
Mm-hmm.
backpack or something. It shoots out little air currents or something.
Right. Right.
I get the word like sky flyer. People look at this and they say, "What is that?" They don't know what it is. Downward thrust, elevation. I get a sense of like waypoints and aerial pathways, and this is a reoccurring thing in my session. Like this has something to do with like energy pathways or something in the sky. I see a person hanging on to something. I get a sense of rotation, axis, don't fall. Again, I see a person move through the air. I get like a human missile almost, like, and someone's measuring this, like testing the distance and the trajectory of this calculation test. And then I see two people like, rise up really fast, and it's like they're wearing like jetpacks. That's the only word I can say to describe it. Like they just fly up. And I saw this as well. This is where I saw like 3 people in a formation flying high up, orange suits, like helmets. And then my last bit here, this one again, the submarine thing again. Secret, national security, deep dive. I see it like near the sea floor, like it's deep down in like a trench, and they're sensing, testing. And then I see military stuff. So I don't know, maybe they're using the Ark of the Covenant, something to do with military. I see these streaks in the sky and a craft that's kind of like the SR-71, but it's not. They got like almost like astronaut type helmets here. I see a guy in the cockpit, classified. Checkpoints, scrambled, aerial trajectory, landing, arrival, fleet. And then I see this streak go through the sky. So, I didn't really get any religious stuff there with that. That was like all the stuff having to do with some kind of aerial type travel.
I mean, maybe you have some kind of modern day. I mean, maybe that's where it is today. I honestly don't know. I mean, we could go back and say, well, maybe he's looking at stuff of the past, but that seems very present day stuff that you're drawing. So maybe you're looking at where the Ark's at today.
Yeah, some of it looked a little older, but not ancient old. Definitely not.
Right. Right. Okay. All right, Naeem. Great session. I'm curious to see how that fits with the other viewers' data. Maybe that'll bring to light some more of your data as well. Let's move on to Dick Allgire's session and see what he has for us, Dick.
Okay, the first thing I want to do is make the case for...
Your camera's off, Dick.
Okay, let's do this. First thing I want to do is make the case for visual ideogram in the first 2 seconds, getting a visual representation of the target. So the very first thing I drew was that down here in the left corner.
Oh, you got the wings. Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Oh, I drew something like that too, actually, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
In my vision.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can, data moves across your optic nerve if you train it to be thus. Okay. So that was my first thing I saw. This is an ornate flowery symbol or carving. It has an old feel and look like Renaissance times or earlier. I see 2 spheres like planets, a planet and moon with energy discharge between them. I keep seeing words flashing. I can make out letters, but I can't form. I can see words, but I can't, if it's either a language I don't know, or even English is a language I don't know when I'm in remote viewing. So there's garbled words flashing on a screen, bright letters. I can't read them, but classified, censored. Okay, now beautiful symmetry, Small human form makes me think of the soul leaving the body, purple waveforms. Energy. My probes, I get down to the third one, I say this is complex, it's hard, it's man-made, static, and it's crafted. The idea of very finely crafted. Shadows, a structure. This is old smells, like a place where horses would be. Rough stone, horse hooves, clump, clump. Old wet stone, hay, and cobblestones. Energy fizzes and sputters. Candle wax. Voices in a great hall, not English, Latin or some other. Roast food, fowl, heavy dark oak, people seated, candles. So I'm getting old feels to this, like parchment, candlelight, bad smells. They don't have sewer systems. So I'm in an old place. I'm inside of a place that's old and musty. I sense heavy wood like oak, a corridor in an old structure, people seated, scribbling, parchment, old feels, structure creaky, old stone, old castle. Nothing felt modern to me on this, okay? I see people walking in a procession near an illuminated window that appears like stained glass. Some are in robes, some are in more ornate embroidered clothing, but there's some structure that's giving off this ethereal light. Setting the scene is this is a place that's old, a complex of structures that are old and historical, like cobblestone. There's a place with a great hall, voices speaking, people seated in here. There's a cornerstone, old bad sanitation, like they didn't have good sewers. So I'm going to look at land and energy and a couple structures and some humans. So I go to land and I see people massed, intonations, open, sacrifice, altar, invoke. Inside the structure, they're speaking in an old language that I don't understand, but it's an old language. There's a chandelier above them with like candles, and people are assembled, but it's illuminated by candlelight. This guy is a modern day guy because he's got a suit, but there's a light on him. He moves slowly, he's rigid, he has a deep voice, he smells like an old man, somber, he's got swelling ankles, very powerful guy. Energy, I'm back to the old stuff. This is a place where they burn oils in a torch inside, and it has a eerie glow. So no natural lights. All right. Here are the people inscribing something. They're like on parchment, they're cataloging, they're at old oak wood. They've got some structure that's old oak. They're bonded, the paper's bonded. It's like calligraphy. Yeah, the people who do this are bonded. They're making a historical record, very important historical record. This is a light event. Light pours through an opening or portal. They have songs and intonations. It's religious. There's awe and reverence. They feel transported to another world through this structure that's giving off light. I look at my own blank paper, and I'm getting so into target now that I see grids over. I can't really see reality. They'll be in a castle, fine cooks, great dinners, a fireplace, secret words in Latin have meaning, child sacrifice, financial plans. Ooh. Old contracts come due. Something that was written long ago will be brought from the archives, dusted off and implemented. A harbinger. Sound like Reardon. Okay, food eating is an important part of what precedes other events. They break bread, toasts are given. These gentlemen, then they retire to do business. You're part of a club if you're invited to one of these dinners. roast meat, fowl, spices, good wine, convivial, special food. Servants, high class, then they do business. Security access is controlled. Communication only face to face, spoken ear to ear, meaning clear without spelling it out. A special handshake, meet again and smile. So like secret societies. There's a spot they meet that's a power spot. Earth energy fields, historic power, influence. Things at this place create an entrainment, magic that lingers, sight memory, sight magic. Places of old stones, very old wood. Dates are important, celestial signs influence. Dark web, communication on the dark web, wow. Big ceremony associated with this, like how they would make a Thai temple in Tibet. Is this still intact? It is, but it's not in its original form.
You drew it though. That's it.
Looting. This old structure is ornate wood like heavy oak, ornamented from a place with old stones from the old world. The whole target feels old. Religions passed down. And then I see a place where it was that felt like an Asian, there's steps that go up to it. And then there's something like this structure, and there's calligraphy around it, and there's prayers and meditating, like an Asian place that has ascending steps and railings like a dragon. It's a power place. It's a temple, but people forget the real meaning behind this object. Okay, I see pictures of important men associated with this. 20th century and the 19th century, like the mutton chops guys. There's framed honoring tradition. This might be where it is, a place with pictures of the old guys, and it's something enshrined. The keeper of knowledge. It's connected. In one place, you could have a stone, or at one point, an ancient tree. Another place could be a stone or a cairn. Another marked by an obelisk. So you have a stone in Europe, an obelisk in North America, and a temple in Asia, and they're all connected and connected to this. Kathmandu, Nepal. Pilgrims come here and feel the power. China wants to take it, but they may be too material-minded. Cosmic spiritual power amplified at these places. Rituals have been done. Most don't remember the meaning. The meaning gets diverted as it's passed down. I see people seated in rows like a movie theater. They're entrained, they're hypnotized. Information, programming, people just blindly accept things. Now they're robotically going about their lives on the street, shopping, working, going places for no important reason. I find myself looking at a sculpture of a bust like the Greek sculpture from the Hellenic period. Faces in stone makes me think of Socrates, Plato, connection to ancient times. And finally, very complex pyramids, stars of David's, like all in harmony, sacred geometry. I couldn't draw it. It was too complex. Wow, that was an intense session. I'm fucking wired just talking about that. But that felt real old and passed down to me, like old religious tradition.
You nailed it, Dick. And there's two things that I want to show you. I'm going to share with what I have here.
That was a great session.
Yeah, really good session there. The first piece you talked about, maybe old contracts coming due. I don't know if this is related or not. This just came out in the paper yesterday. Vatican digs illegal tunnel to exhume King David's DNA and bring the Messiah back to life. So I don't know if that's that old contract coming due or not. But what I really wanted to show you is the our Church of the Lady of Mary of Zion in Ethiopia. This is where one of the possible resting places of the Ark is. But you had that brightly colored portal. And I thought these stained glass drawings might represent that, as a possible location.
Yeah, and the guys in robes. Oh, picture of the right down the bottom, right? Go down one.
Right here?
Yeah, that's what I saw. The guys in robes walking by that.
Yep. Yeah. So and maybe that's telling us that's where it is, or that's where it was
Yeah.
at some point in the history that you were
Interesting.
looking at it. So great session, Dick. Let's go on to who was next. Naeem, Dick, then Edward, and then Daz is the last one. So Edward, you have the floor, sir.
Okay. Wow, man, this is really crazy. I got some corroborating stuff in here with Dick's work and with Naeem's work. So let's get
let's
it
do it.
on, man.
Let's see.
Good, I'm not,
See
I'm
what-
not out
see
here
what's
on my
what.
own.
All right. So my going into this session, I had this strong impression of an arrival of something. So that was like an essence of something that was starting me off, like a scheduled date, arrival of something, but of what? It has to do with the sky and space, like a satellite in orbit. It might turn on or go live with turn on or go live with something, but what? Like a new use of this satellite? I was in this modern day stuff, so I how it relates to this target, I have no idea. Does the reference of arrival relate to it being turned on? Is what I wanted. This object reaches its destination on schedule. It is set to be in place on a specific date. It has then arrived. So I don't know. Maybe the Ark of the Covenants. Maybe they're moving it or something. The aesthetic behind the notion of arrival is very interesting to me. Like something arrives, something begins, but what begins? The use of a technology that reminds me of a satellite technology getting beamed down and or put to use, like this arrives. Is that what I'm trying to convey? Turned on, put to use, activated, triggered. Something or someone arrives. This here. This also gives me the idea of an airplane landing, arrival on schedule. Very much into the time factor. What is the time factor? Geo coordinates, sidereal time. There's a coordinate factor as it relates to satellite technology to pinpoint something or someplace. As in the start of something, beginning phase, waiting for something, or one to arrive. What or who, I question, a touchdown, mogul type leader. Once he gets here, it was the word, once he gets here, or comes home, an AOL of Elon Musk, but somebody coming home. How does this relate to the target, though? I'm wondering. A place, location. The area in question has been picked up via satellite. But what location? A home location. Well, what is a home location? A vectoring target location, a pinpointed location. What is interesting about this location, though, I'm wondering? It's something dangerous. But what is dangerous? A location that is off limits. But off limits, why, I wonder? Secret base or facility. But for what use? And it had a military feel, like a base. There are levels of secrecy that I will respect. That's fine. What is it about? What is it about this place that I know that is less intrusive? Because the feeling was that I was coming upon some things that, you have to be a bit respectful about when you come around something, the level of sensitivity that I was perceiving here. So
You mean like from a national security standpoint, like things that would get us in trouble if you put it out there type of stuff?
if just from an intuitive sense,
Mhm. Okay.
a learned thing is knowing when to back
stop.
off a little bit.
Yeah.
You may want to go in like the bull in the china shop or whatever and say yeah, but you'll end up being the mouse in the trap. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And you don't
That's
want to be
pretty
the
cool.
mouse in the trap. And I've learned that. That okay, there's some secrecy here, and I will respect that.
Yeah,
So
that's really cool, Edward. I think that speaks to your experience and your discipline. That's really
it
cool.
definitely does. So, okay, then I just have to kind of rearrange my mind to go to where it's a little less intrusive, so that I can be respectful. And this idea of a security post, the idea is one of intrusion. If a place has individuals who do not wish to be perceivable and scanned, further intrusion may result in psychic warfare. There is an element of this related to this target. I feel, now that I know what the target is, I feel very strongly that that's probably the case. Someone is requesting privacy. This will be respected. It will be by me. A counter request is made. This is me. A counter request is made for a perspective or perspectives that would be of interest for me.
So to interpret that, someone at that target or something at that target was saying, "Hey, please don't look at me," and you said, "Okay, I won't look at you. Don't look at me."
It was like, if you're familiar with any of the occult stuff,
Uh-huh.
psychic warfare is real.
Mhm.
It is very intense. I have a lot of experience with it myself personally. When I come upon an area that, well, do I want to go into a psychic battle here? No, I don't. I'm too old for it. I know
Right.
too much by now. I don't. I don't need to do that. So, so what I did then was I made a counter request.
Hmm. Mhm.
A counter request. I don't want
Okay.
to go. I don't want to go into psychic warfare over this target.
Right.
There's something interesting here, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to battle over this target. No way.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
Interesting. Thanks for
So,
sharing that.
yeah. So a technological enhancement for communication is what I was perceiving. Some kind of a communication device. What is different about it, though? The device can communicate virtually from anywhere. Are there elements of quantum entanglement, though, I wonder? Because this idea of anywhere, are there elements of quantum entanglement involved with this target? There are locking mechanisms and measurements that pin or signal to another. These locked elements are then in communication with uninterruptible potential. So this was a very, very intense whatever it was that I was perceiving here. What is this used for, though? I wonder. Signal development. But what is that? As the strings are tuned on the network, as the strings are turned on, the
Turned
network
on, yeah.
continues to grow. What could be considered a subspace channel? This is like Internet 9.0, a complete subspace platform that is uninterruptible. My aesthetic was that it was very, very interesting. Like a private network, a private internet, a private communication network, later to be leased to corporations and space agencies. And here is again the satellite and some object down there. There are receiver transmitters as well, hubs or carriers, very technical and versatile. A custodian. But what is that? What does that mean? Someone who is holding something, the holder of something. But holding what? To hold and to maintain. Who is the custodian, though, I wonder? The record keeper, the network maintenance person. But what about this person, though, I wonder? The arrival is the custodian. Man, this is just weird shit, dude. But what is this about? Detailed analysis, network assessment, logs check. This one here, the custodian, whoever he is, surveying on the return management signals and developments and all these things, detections and codes, encryptions, fireproofs, screens, all this kind of technical stuff. So I don't know how it relates. This is top layer, though. This was all top layer. What is the bottom layer, though, I wonder? And here I had a submarine. It's like Naeem was talking about? Could it be, it's not, but here was the thing, it's not cold bottom layer. There was a submarine, this Operation Steamboat, a detection sub, low frequency detection, subspace readings. It's not called that though. It's not called subspace readings. Well, what is it called? Low frequency transmitter, a specific hertz range receiver, alternate bandwidth signal, deep sea terminal to land base, hertz, megahertz, wave detector, underwater frequency range, alternate program, related to saltwater interaction with incoming signals. They have been deployed and employed. But what is the timeline for what this represents, though, I wonder? There is a continual series of events that, though what this target represents does not obey the laws of time as we know it. But what the hell does that mean? There is a bending of light and dark matter that fluctuates in ways that are outside our perimeters of theoretical laws. It is here already, and it is not here. It exists in this would be considered, to exist in this, it would be considered a time and space law. To exist in this, in this, what I'm talking about here, this. To exist in this would be considered a time and space lord, but they don't call it that. Well, what do they call it? A mechanic. But why? It is an engineer who designs and builds a bridge. But a bridge to what? A bridge is designed and built for transportation. Transportation of what, though? What and or who? What is it defined as? Is it definable? Imagery, the detection of and in imagery. How is that translated, though? I'm wondering. How do you translate that? I question an exclamation point. Like a hologram, holographic imagery, like a rainbow. When light passes through, an image is translated. This is a very poor description of this, and I can do better at describing it. Something projected ahead of time, but how? The rules don't apply here. But where is here? Here is here. It's a paradox for our minds that we relate to our perceived laws of physics. These laws only apply to those who apply them. Do we live in a paradox, though, I'm questioning? Any answer to that question would only act to reinforce the probability. So that is the wrong question, though. I question. How do you bend space? What time is it? These all serve the probability of paradox. Do paradoxes interact or cross into each other, though, I wonder? This is the meaning of this target. Paradox is a placeholder word, one that gives direction and even reverence. Dennis will contemplate the placeholder word. The system developed here may be called paradox by name, as in a company name. Internet 9.0, not called that though. More like the crossover or cross-channeling. This is the use case for psychic individuals who can access this, like myself, like a thinking internet. People who entertain the notion of Borg are those stuck in the fear centers of their own brain. Seasons don't fear the reaper. Why fear the night sky? Is it to redefine the meaning of the words living and not living? How would this apply to this target, though, I wonder? The target relates to a system that is not binary in its nature. Well, what does that mean? There are multiplicities, fractions, bit parts, holes, redefinements, sectors, sections, hallways, a multi-probability series of channels. There is even less need for the theory of 0, 1, or 2. Later, what are commonly referred to as rules will be addressed. And that was it, man.
Wow.
God damn, dude.
I mean,
I don't
that's.
know what fucking any of that shit means.
I mean, I could
This
spend hours
target.
going through that. I mean, that's going through I think the very nature of reality, the construct of reality, the perception of reality.
I don't know how that relates to the Ark of the Covenant, but maybe somebody has some ideas, or maybe you have some ideas. I don't know, man.
I would think that, what you're looking at is how this is used present day, and it's alluding to the fact that this possibly technology has been used throughout history, but doesn't flow through time the way that we perceive time, or most of us perceive time, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like
Dick had a point with the
Naeem. I think we
I
lost
think
you.
it froze. I think
Yeah,
it froze up.
we froze
sorry.
on Naeem.
It was a
My
device
backing.
for communication with Godmind.
There you go.
Yeah,
that would.
we had
that would bring it
communication.
into
Yeah,
it.
we had, maybe they're using it now in a military application.
And it was
The whole
also a weapon as
communication
well.
aspect.
It was
Yeah.
it was claimed that any army that had the Ark was undefeatable.
Well, undefeatable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very, very, very interesting. That was a very intense session. I can't wait to see what Daz.
Ed,
And
had
it's got a
people
Knights
landing,
Templar
right?
connection as well. They apparently had it for a few centuries.
Who
The
did?
Templars. Yeah, the Templars.
Templars.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
we know it was definitely in the Dome on the Rock in Jerusalem at one point.
Mhm.
It was stored there, and then it disappeared when the city was sacked. And there is allegedly now in a church in Ethiopia, but there's all these rumors that it's in the Oak Island money pit, and it's somewhere in America. There's all these different rumors, really.
Wow. Crazy. Wow. What a
Apparently,
target.
it's a part of some military operation right now. Looking at what these guys are pulling back, but
Well, I mean, probably one of the main interests of this session related to the target is how it's being guarded, and that's pretty interesting. So,
yeah, great session, Edward. Thank you. All right, last but certainly not least, Daz Smith. Let's take a look at what you brought back.
Yeah, equally as strange as Edwards. I think mine tallies onto that. I didn't get anything physical on a box holding anything, but we'll go for what I got anyway. So I start off with this real energetic ideogram here. Lots of energy coming from it, and I had a real emotional feel to this target. Again, another energy ideogram for me here. Felt like it was lots of expanding energy that felt attractive, and I had an AOL of a magnetic feel to it. And it feels like it was all to do with space, a vast amount of space, which was like a cold, dark void, almost like a black hole. And it had a circular movement to this energy as well, with a wide arc of travel to it. So all energetic here. And again, a huge thing I got of energy here. Very massive, very large scale energy, and it felt universal. And I got the words here at the bottom of dark expanse of energy, space, cold energy. It just felt like a really expansive part of universal energy. I tried to draw a bit here as well, and I wrote here, it feels somewhat strange, large, almost too large, as if I'm looking at a universe or larger, or maybe something really, really small. But to be honest, it felt big, felt really big and universal. I tried to describe it here, and I kept getting that there was a life involved with this, and it was contained and surrounded by this massive field of energy, and it was a spiritual kind of feeling to it. And this target felt strange to me. It felt like it's not what it seems. So I asked, what does this mean? And I just kept getting this explosion of energy here, almost like a star explosion of energy, which I tried to draw in a bit more detail. It was very bright, lots of light, almost like an explosion of intense energy, a self-sustaining energy, which is volatile, like a spark of life, almost like, the creation of life itself, but, big, massive, and vast. And I think I ended it. Oh no, I didn't. I went a bit for a. So this felt very surreal to me at this point. Feels as if I'm watching the birth of a new creation, a source of power and energy that's contained in a field of darkness. So there's a very out there feel to this, very science based. And then this is me moving in front of the target and trying to describe it. And in the center there, the A was an object which was man-made, metallic structure, and it felt like it contained life inside. The B part, which were all these rings, felt like a sea of particles and energy. And the space around it just felt like it was a void of darkness. So it was just like the space itself. The target feels very removed in time and space, very distant, very much future or past. It also feels far from me here and now. And I kept getting the words future to this. I get a very strong feel of something way larger than me. So, something really important and kind of universal. Something of immense size and scope and something very important, which was underlying there. And I had a very scientific feel to this as well. Yeah, I felt very, quantum kind of mechanics kind of feel to it. I tried to describe it more detail, and I just kept getting a large open space, which was dark, cold, and very black. Had all these waves of flowing energy in it, which were almost invisible. And it felt like I was floating in a sea of invisible energy, almost like it was water or had a fluid-like motion to it. And then I tried to draw some things that I kept seeing. I kept seeing these wispy filament types within this energy. And they had these little ball-like structures on the end. And it felt like they moved and flowed with like tidal or like solar winds. I wrote there space winds. And they felt like they were glowing like tendrils. And they were very long, hundreds of kilometers. And I was like, I wrote the word "what the fuck" then, because it almost felt like they were like wormhole kind of like time tunnels or something in space.
I think that sounds like some corroborating data there too with that space connection going on.
Yeah, and I got the word here transport because it felt like a transport system. Mm-hmm. So I wrote here, this feels like a space or a space, and it feels like it's honeycombed. There are these invisible structures or holes or tubes, tunneling like structures. And then I wrote the word, for fault here, am I in a microscopic world here? Because it just felt, weird like that. Because there was energy everywhere. And the sense of things were alive or feeling energetic, and these structures felt like they were alive. It felt like I was floating a vast, watery like space. Feels like lots of connected parts. And then I tried to draw them in a bit more detail. So, these are almost like little like tubular wormhole type tunnels, but they felt like they were alive. My final note was, this feels so surreal that I'm going to stop here because I didn't really know what I was getting, and we don't really have sessions like that very often.
Wow. That was intense. It's neat looking at the tendrils, the wormholes, that are floating around here.
Freaky stuff.
And as they say, as above, so below. The macro and the micro are ultimately representations of one and the same. So,
the weird thing is, I didn't really get anything felt tangible in any sense of the word.
I think you put in the energy. Yeah, the energy of maybe that's the technology or the power of the Ark. What the Ark is.
It's meant to have some kind of weird shit there going on. As we know, all the rumors are going back for centuries and stuff, that anyone that looks upon it dies.
Yeah.
But we also know, it involves stuff that was given to Moses from God. So
and
what that could be,
who or what was God? I mean, that could have been anything at this point. So great data, great sessions by everybody. Anybody have any commentary or feedback before we go ahead and end this one? No. Okay. Well, then we'll leave it. Dick, did you have something?
No, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe the current day it's at a military base.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, just looking at the data, it sounds like this has been used off and on throughout history in ways that I think right now I can't wrap my mind around. Maybe it influences societies or drives, the development or the fall of a society.
And we know Hitler was after it for a while. He had a search for it.
Yeah, Daz was after it. Naeem, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying.
I'm saying if we take it for its like one of its basic uses that we know, like communication, if that's what it was used for, like in the Bible, then it's I guess it's possible, like that they've been using it maybe for a while now. Maybe something, it might even be something we take for granted, like that, you know, it might be related to technology and they use it now. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, that's secret national security stuff too. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And
Well, then,
communication in and of itself, Naim, you're breaking up.
some
I'm not
interesting
trying to step
overlaps.
over you. You're breaking up. I'm sorry, but communication, like you said, in and of itself, could be used as a weapon, especially for, you know, in the ways that they're using it. So who knows? But a great session by everybody. Some interesting data to our viewers. Those of you out there watching this this program, let us know your thoughts. I'm sure you'll be pulling lots of relevant information that'll give us a lot to think on and chew on for time to come as we go through this data. So thank you everybody for your support and participation. To our viewers, great job, Edward, Daz, Dick, Naim, the rest of the crypto viewing team, Dennis Nappy II. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe today for full access to our massive archive of remote viewing debriefs. The past, the present, and the future, only at futureforecastinggroup.com.